Ain't no good girl, my hair, my feet tied up in clothes. That on me, I don't wanna get down and dirty. I'll make you eat my dust on a few strokes. Wakeboard off the back of the boat. That's just me, not the shiny bird. 'Cause I ain't no girly girl, don't wear no diamonds and no pearls, don't lose no sleep. No, I'm calling me back.
Well, welcome ladies and gentlemen to the 2023 Ron Wall Memorial Colt starting here at Canamble. A very exciting event this year. We've got three very exciting geldings. We've got three very, very handy trainers. We've got 3 nights of competition, followed up by a live auction of these horses on the 3rd night. These horses have been brought to us here by Ben and Jay Hall. I will go through some breeding and the bloodlines of these horses as we go through the night, but just a massive thank you to Ben and Jay Hall. The quality of these horses is unbelievable, and it's such a privilege to have them here for us to handle and break in here this weekend. What we do, we've got an hour and a half session each night. Basically, the 3 Colt starters have to have a 15-minute break in the hour and a half. So basically an hour and 15 minutes work on the horse. These guys can take that break whenever they please and how they please, whether it's a 5-minute increment or a 10-minute. So we'll keep an eye on that as they go. So we'll go for an hour and a half. On the 3rd night, we will pick a winner of the Colt starting event, but I think just to note, talking to all the trainers there earlier, that they're all pretty excited to learn from each other and see what they can produce out of these horses. So I wouldn't think of it as a competition, but more a learning experience here the next 3 days, because we've got some very handy trainers, very handy horses that have had, mind you, they've had a little bit of handling, as you will see. But I think that's just going to show further on down the track how far along these guys get with these horses. So what we'll do, so we don't waste up too much time, we'll get these guys to step in their round yards and go to work, and I'll go and have a chat to each of these guys and introduce themselves, and we'll introduce the horses as we go. So these guys can step in whenever they want, and I'll just take the microphone over. Judging the event this year is Mr. Scott Keogh and Mrs. Leah Reid. Scott and Leah have judged this before for us, so they know everything that they're looking for, and I'll just throw it over to Scott just so he can give us a bit of a rundown.
Yeah, cheers, Ricky. Basically, Leah and I are just really students for the night. That's all it is. I mean, we can't say you're right or wrong till the horse tells us you're right or wrong. So I just wish all 3 contestants the best of luck. And I've met some of my best friends through these horse breaking contests. We're not really against each other. You only drew the animal you got. There might be a lollipop in round 1 and a tough horse in round 3. So the guy that's got a saddle on early is not necessarily winning. So the Halls have been really generous to donate some proper horses here tonight. So I'm going to hand it over to Leah, and I'm going to sit back and enjoy what we've got here.
Thanks, Scotty. Yeah, thanks to Ben and Jay. These horses look fantastic, and we can able to put this on. Same deal. We're just here to watch a program. It's not necessarily the person that gets the furthest. Just show us your program, be confident in your program, and we can't wait to see what you've got to give us.
Righto, thanks to the judges. So as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to walk around over the next 3 nights. I'm going to annoy our Colt starters. We're going to introduce all of them. They're going to tell us a little bit about themselves, and the horse that they see in front of them. And then we're just going to keep picking their brain as we go through the event, asking a few questions. There was a saying, if anybody knows Ron Wall, and it's questions, confusions, queries. And he used to use that saying quite a bit, running his schools and what have you. So if anybody has any questions or confusions or queries at any stage during the next 3 nights, feel free to sting your hand up, and we'll see if we can get these guys to answer it. The more interactive, the better. You've got a wealth of knowledge here in these 3 horse trainers, so every bit we can learn from them and ask what they're doing is only a benefit. So what we'll do while they're just making their way, as you can see, some of these horses, like we've already got a halter on one of these horses, but these horses have been handled. They've come from Muddaborough at Ben and Jay Hall's place. They've been down in Canamble for the last 2 months. They are quite handled. There's no doubt about that, but these horses, hopefully that's going to reflect later on down the track in the next 3 nights. And it just goes to show that these are probably where these breakers want to be getting these horses these days. There's no point spending 2 hours just trying to get into a yard with one. So having the prior preparation that Jay's put on these horses is going to shine over the next 3 nights. So credit to Ben and Jay. I'm going to throw it over to the first pen here, and we're going to introduce Tamara Jennis. Tamara Jennis is riding. We've got Elvis. No, we got Elvis, we got Elton. Elton. Hall's Elton in this pen.
No, this is Elvis.
Yeah, Elton.
Elvis.
Elvis.
Pretty sure you told me Elvis at the start.
11 over 0.
Over.
No, you're right.
What,
You got Elvis.
Elvis?
You've got Elvis.
You'll tell by
Sorry,
the
King.
hairdo he's Elvis.
Yeah, it's definitely Elvis. Tamara, how are you? Please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you think this event's worth coming to.
Well, first of all, I'm good, thank you. My name's Tamara. I run a horse training business up on north of Brisbane, up at Caboolture. I've been doing that for about the past 10 years now. The reason I enjoy coming down here, I came down here, I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago for a Colt start, just when the drought broke, so we got rained out, unfortunately. But I enjoy watching a good Colt start. I enjoy learning from them. I think there's a wealth of information that you can pick up regardless of how far the horses get or how far the trainers get with their horses. Every horse is an individual, so being able to pick up on those things and go, this person might have gotten a horse that's a bit more cheeky or this one's a bit more flighty, and going, look at their approach, look at how they've changed, how they did approach that horse, and look at the framework that they use to get that horse going.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, cool. So you're not a camp grafter, you're not a challenger, you don't ride per se a lot of stock horses. How is this different to the day job?
Look, I have dabbled in camp draft and challenge. I have 7 horses at the moment. I do a lot of Western showing. Hello, buddy. Give me a nuzzle there. I do dabble in a bit of Western as well as English riding, hack and dressage. But as far as from the day job coming out here, I mean, we've got an audience. Normally I've got, clients and their friends. So I'm used to talking to people, not to the internet as much and not so much mic'd up. So I'll try and mind my P's and Q's today and hopefully impart as much as I can about what I'm doing and why I'm doing it with that specific horse.
Yeah, cool. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the first Colt starter, Tamara Jennis. I'll make my way into the middle pen here now, Mr. Nathan Garlick. Nathan, if you could just introduce yourself, mate. Tell us a little bit about your background and why you're in this caper.
Hello. Good. Yeah. I'm Nathan Garlick. I grew up in Brisbane. Didn't really like the city lifestyle much. Got into, I suppose, horses and that through a cousin of mine. I saw him go up north and work on big cattle stations, and he led me to a station up north that had pretty good horsemen. One good horseman managing it and another older fella that was working there. So yeah, fast-tracked up there from college and worked with them, and that's where I actually met Ron Wall, which then throughout the several years I sort of dealt a little bit with him and really got into it. But then, sort of left all that, went overseas rodeoing and that, over in Canada and America. But always dealt with horses, even over there with show jumping horses and that, and eventually come back to Canada, Australia, working on properties. But then, I sort of always wanted to just work with horses, even when I was on stations. And then, so sort of, I think 2 or 3 years ago, I started up just a horse breaking in business, and sort of from then on, I've been kept busy, breaking in horses all up near Townsville, where I got a little block. So, that's sort of bit of the history of it all.
Very good. What's the passion? What's the drive? What do you like the most? What gets you out of bed to want to go and work colts every day?
Probably seeing the progression of them, but then also the when I send them back to people, and then because I compete in camp drafts and challenges, and then I see those horses come through, and just knowing that I have started them, and the people really enjoy getting them back and riding them as young horses, and they find them enjoyable to ride. So it's sort of that's a pretty big part for me that they really enjoy that, and yeah,
cool. Thank you. By the way, Nathan's got Ego, Hall's Ego. We'll come back to Hall's Ego in a little bit, and we'll read some pedigrees out and just let you know how well bred these horses are. So we go down to our last third, but not last. Colt starting pen with Sam Taylor. Sam Taylor's a local bloke from Glargenbone, so I'll let Sam introduce himself and his experiences and what's led him to today.
Hello. Right. Yep. I'm from Glargenbone. I grew up having horses when I was young, but wasn't from an overly horsey family or anything, but I always had an interest and passion, and went away, worked on cattle stations, and where we did predominantly all our work with horses, so I got to use horses, work horses, and I didn't know so much about breaking at the time. I was exposed to people. There was obviously Ronnie Wall was up there at the time and used to break in at our station, so we used to, I was very young, green back then, but everyone was sort of pretty in awe of what he used to do, and a lot of people up there used to use a lot of his, techniques and style, I guess. I came back home down this way, and I started being interested in breaking horses, and I took on horses. Of course, you always get all the bad ones first. You get no money for them. And I sort of built some yards and stuff, and did it in between other work and everything, I guess I'm still doing it now, but I have diversified in the other types of horses. I've got a lot of people around this area know that I've got cart horses. I do harness. I like to break in a lot of saddle horses, and I've got harness horses of my own, and I've been around a lot of horsemen, old people that, well, in that harness world, you're exposed to a lot of people, still from the age where they used horses a lot, and for harness and for work and cattle work and stuff, you just learn a lot just being around different people and stuff, whether it's about how to work a horse or if it's just about horses and their role and how they used them. So that's sort of what I've done with horses. Just always mucked around with them.
Same question, Sam. What's the passion? What's the drive? What do you like about horses?
It's the same, I think. Just the reward in a short period of time. Obviously, having something that you can't. It's never had a person on it. I could jump straight on this horse, but it would be pretty confused about it, and it would, and you'd have no controls on it. You'd have no steering, no nothing, and when you get a horse like that, and then in 5 weeks, you can take it for a good ride, and do stuff with it. Open, close gates, and you can, and you've got control, and you're not worried about, stuff happening around you, because you've got faith in what you've done with your horse and what it can do.
Yeah, very good. Thank you, Sam. So that's our 3 Colt starters introduced, guys. While they're working away, I'll keep intermittently asking some questions, but I'll let him get a start on these horses so we end up somewhere with them. But I'll just introduce the horses now. So once again, obviously kindly donated by Ben and Jay Hall. All of these horses are signed by El Rio. He doesn't need a lot of introduction. You've seen what Ben and Jay do with their horses, the Play Rios, El Rios, to the sisters, El Torrio. All the Rios do everything. These horses, you can see it, they're packed full of breeding. In this pen here with Sam Taylor, this is Hall's Elton. The Elton's a 2-year-old. They're all 2-year-olds, mind you, ladies and gentlemen. All well-handled 2-year-olds. And this Elton, he's out of a Ham Satin, the mare is, by Dogwood Comet. So, you know, Dogwood Comet needs no introduction as well. So that's on the dam side by the great Siren El Rio. Once again, these horses are going to be auctioned off on Saturday night. And I don't know where you can, you know, buy a softer kind of horse that's been started with that sort of breeding. So make sure you stay tuned for them. We'll move on to the next one that Nathan's handling here. That's Hall's Ego. So once again, another 2-year-old side by El Rio. This time he's out of West Oaks Angel Baby. So she's a novice mare that's by Acres Destiny. So packed full of breeding there at Acres Destiny. They're not making them anymore. So he's a very nice little horse. And then we'll move on to the third one, which is Mr. Elvis. I got his name wrong before. So once again, we're by the great Siren El Rio. This time out of Bunda Illusion. So she's a novice mare by Dogwood Comet out of a Warren by Romeo mare. So you pack all of that breeding into one horse. And once again, like I said, a 2-year-old gelding with that much breeding, going to be on offer on Saturday night. So if you've got any questions over the next couple of nights on these 3 colts, we are live with Stock Live. We thank Stock Live for coming out so we can show you guys all around Australia this event. But yeah, if you've got any questions, they are live on Stock Live, and you can ask me any questions that you need. So please get in contact with us if you need, and we can help you out with some more bloodlines or whatever you need on these horses so that you can bid with confidence. So that'll be it from me just for a little while. I'll just let them get started and sit back and enjoy the show for half an hour.
Kinda laid back, ain't much an old country boy like me can't hack. Early to rise, I'm early in the sack. Thank God I'm a country boy. Different kind of life never did me no harm. Raising me a family and working on the farm. These are all filled with an easy country charm. Thank God I'm a country boy. Yeah, I got me a fine wife, I got me old fiddle. When the sun's coming up, I got cakes on the griddle. Life ain't nothing but a funny, funny riddle. Thank God I'm a country boy. When the work's all done and the sun's sinking low, I pull out my fiddle and I rustle on my bow. The kids are asleep, so I keep it kind of low. Thank God I'm a country boy. Yeah, I'd play Sally Gooden all day if I could, but the Lord and my wife wouldn't take it very good. I fiddle when I can and work when I should. Thank God I'm a country boy. 'Cause I got me a fine wife, I got me old fiddle. When the sun's coming up, I got cakes on the griddle. Life ain't nothing but a funny, funny riddle. Thank God I'm a country boy. Come on. No, I wouldn't trade my life for diamonds or jewels, and never was one of them money-hungry fools. Rather have my farm, my fiddle, and tools, and thank God I'm a country boy. 'Cause I see city folk driving a black limousine. A lot of sad people thinking that's a mighty king. Son, let me tell you exactly what I mean. Thank God I'm a
Hi guys, just want to mention too, so this is the Ron Wall Memorial Colt starting. We sadly lost Ronnie a couple of years ago. Ronnie's, for anybody that knew Ron Wall, if you knew Ron Wall, he had an impact on your life at some point, shape, way or form. We've already touched on here tonight, two fellas here in the industry have had run-ins and things to learn off Ronnie. I'd like to extend a thank you to Jody, hubby and Dylan for allowing us to run this event in his name. It's a pretty special honour. We've had a bronze made up once again, donated by Jay and Ben Hall. So it's a perpetual trophy that these guys can, proudly put their name on. And it's something, this Colt starting was a big deal for Ronnie. It's something that he lived his life doing. He was a massive driver of getting this event to start, not only the Colt starting, but the challenge and all the Stockman's challenges around Australia. Ronnie's big passion was working with horses, working with young people out on the stations, like Sam touched on earlier. He'd been everywhere in Australia, working every type of horse. He's been across the world. If you drop Ron Wall's name at a bar in Texas, they're probably going to know who he is. He was that good of a horseman. And like I said, anybody that had 5 minutes to deal with Ronnie learnt something, good, bad or ugly. You learnt something. So yeah, just a massive thank you to Jody, Dylan and hubby. I hope you guys are watching, and I'm sure the big fella's up there having a mango and watching us all crack away at the trade that he worked so hard to perfect. So thank you again. We'll make sure we touch on Ronnie as we go along during the next couple of nights. How we going?
Is that on? Okay. Yeah.
What do we see? What do we know? What do we learn? What do we like? What don't we like?
We're doing all right. We're just trying to keep him pretty calm, trying to work on his focus. Every so often he sort of drifts from me. He's like, oh, my mates are over there. So every time that happens, I sort of jump down, do a little bit of change of direction. He's pretty cool on this near side. Offside, he keeps trying to sort of block me every so often, so trying to work both sides at the same time. He goes from being a little bit worried to a little bit cheeky, so I see him giving me, a little nip every so often, reaching around, which is cool that in this sort of environment he's wanting to try and engage, I guess, is what I want to keep about him. I don't want him to shut down and go, this isn't, a cool deal, everything we're doing today. So yeah, I guess today is just finding out a bit about him, how he works, how he responds to a little bit of pressure. I'm trying not to put too much on him, trying to wait for him as he gives me little cues like licking, chewing, or acting like just now he's let me on that offside, which is a pretty cool deal that I'm, up here in a place that puts me in basically a predatorial stance above him. Being a prey animal himself, that's not natural. So yeah, just getting him used to my body all around him, how I move, and I'm getting used to how he moves.
Very cool. We'll come back to you.
That's off. Is that off? No.
Sam's having a break there, guys, and as you can see, he's got a bridle in its mouth and a roller on its back. So a lot of breakers would have called that an awesome first day, like put the cue away. So he's done plenty, but these are very nice horses. They're not out of the bush, they're not out of hard riding. These are the real deal. These are the sort of horses you want to turn up here in a couple of years on. So Sam's done a really good job here, and they're all moving forward in their own ways. But Nathan in the middle here, I really like the way he's picked two different ends, Leah. Before he was working on his hind end, and now he's working on his front end. And the average guy spurring and jerking his truck, he hasn't picked either end, has he? He's picked the whole battle. You know, so in the 1950s, they worked out, if you're going to pick a war, pick the cavalry, the archery, or the infantry. Not all three. So they're all doing something, and we're all learning something here, and I hope there's some people at home online getting something out of it. Nathan, can you go back to your hind end for me for a second, mate? I know you're doing your deal, but you're doing a really good job. Can you go back to your hind end for a second? The way you were lunging around. The way you were lunging around. Tell me why you're doing it. Why are you not halter off? Why aren't you just liberty chasing him around?
Well, basically, I try and relate everything I do on the ground is the same as I do on their back. So I try and stay centre on him here. He's got a bit of attitude of not, which is fine. But yeah, I stay here, and then my lead rope, I try and work it as it'd be my rein once I'm on its back. And then the flag is just help keep a bit of distance for safety, but it's sort of my drive end. But I work it like this, and I sort of focus on more at the middle of his back, keep him going, and then sort of when I want to pull him up, I'll just pick up on his face a bit, but I'll drive all my energy towards his hips to get that, where his hind end steps in under itself. So basically, when I do go to ride him, if I get into a wreck, I can pick up on that lead rope or rein, and yeah, if he starts to buck or whatever, take off, my shutdown is basically pick up on his face there. My foot would come back to that hip to kick him out of gear, because that's where all their drive and motor and that comes from. So if you can kick that out, then it helps shut them down, and it's just a good handbrake, and very I do it all the time because I don't spend much in round pen or arena, so I ride out as much as I can, and if they take fright of the kangaroo or whatever, I can just pick up on either side and just kick their hip out, and just takes them out of gear and shuts down their motor. Mightn't happen straight away, but eventually, you'll get it.
Mate, I absolutely love it. Now, there's a lady you may or may not have heard of called Leah Reid, and I seen her in a Colt starting contest one time, and her groundwork was so close to riding. It was so close to riding, it must have been very easy for the horse to understand it. Now, there are people out there online watching us there tonight whose version of leading revolves around a rope around their bum. And that is the only way they can get him from A to B, or follow their mum. The version of softness means tying a rein around till he's sore in the mouth. That neither will help you when you get on his back.
Yeah.
Okay, so what Nathan did just then was so close to riding was ridiculous. What do you reckon, Leah?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So I'm the talk of the bunch, obviously. So could you imagine getting a Chinese lesson on the ground and a Japanese lesson on their back? So, I mean, if your version of mouthing him revolves like two driving reins ploughing a field, that's not the same as being on his back, Leah. So this horse, he's like, I want to be good, but what have you shown me? So we're analysing on Nathan in a minute because he's in front of us, but I'm just saying I really appreciate what he did just then.
Righto, so Sam's got 2 minutes left. Sam's taken half his break, taken 7.5 minutes. So he's got about 2 minutes left, and I'll just ask Sam to turn his mic on while he's having a bit of a spell here and just explain why he walked out of the round yard, at what point, and just where he's up to with his horse.
Am I on? Yep. Well, I've got the bit in its mouth. I like to sort of let it think about that a bit, pick it up, play with it. I was happy. I got a lot done. Like they just seem to be really pleasant horses, and that you know, I got him moving, and I could get some movement out of his leg. You know, I could work his back end and work his front end and not lose. You know, I wasn't losing the horse. He was staying focused on me. I've done, like a lot of horses I do, I won't get that done in a day. You know, the horses are just seems to be taking everything on so far. So far so good. But
So you're just sort of working on the methods that you've had a win to a degree on what you want to achieve, so you let that settle for a while and then go on to the next challenge?
Yeah, I'll try and be sequential a bit about what I do and keep doing what I sort of how I do it, and I'm just happy to give him a break now, and then I can get back into it.
Yeah, cool. You got about 20 seconds, Sam, and then Sam's taking half his break. Nathan's just going to jump out of his round yard now for 5. We just ticked over the half hour, so you got 55 minutes. So we've got an hour to go. So we're a third of the way through the first night. Guys are having a bit of a blow. We'll go and catch up with Tamara and see where she's up to.
I think I'm back on now.
Tell us something, Tamara.
Yeah, so I'm still working this offside a little bit. He's come around to, he just gave me a little bit of a paw then when I was trying to get the mic on. He's trying to get me over that other side, so I worked a little bit just getting some shoulder control, just stepping him off of this halter pressure, my hand pressure to where my leg pressure would be. Good boy. Like you said, these horses had a bit of handling on them, so they're pretty responsive to stuff. He is sort of more on the sensitive side, I would say. I don't want to offend him tonight, so I'm making sure that everything I do with him is fairly quiet, fairly calm, just getting him to do the right thing and making it as easy as possible as I can for him. You'll see a couple times there he hit the end of the rope and was sort of shaking his head around, so making sure that when that happens that he does yield off of that pressure, we get a nice softness, and then I sort of quit him and give him a bit of a break. Pretty curious about everything in here. I got up above him on the near side, sort of laid a little bit of pressure over, rubbed him on that offside from the near side, because that's obviously going to be me up there, so getting him used to me being up there without any huge amount of weight, so that he, I guess, understands that before I do jump on him, hopefully later on in this competition.
Yeah, very cool. Thank you. Nathan, did you have a blow, mate? You just want to sort of catch us up where you're at with him and why you're happy to step out for 5 minutes?
He was a little, I suppose, headstrong, sort of not wanting to move his feet too much. Just he's probably been the top of the pecking order in the pen, and I got some good movements out of him with his front end and back end, and he sort of he come down a lot. He was pretty getting around with his head high and sort of throwing his head about and sort of a bit playful in a way, but not overly loving what I was doing with him. But he just towards the end there, he really calmed down and did a couple of things real good, and I sort of just want to reward him for it, and don't want to get to humbugging him too much too.
Thank you. Whenever you get a little break in the traffic there, Sam, and you've got time to swing around to your mic, you might just explain, as you're doing that there, you might just explain what you're chasing and why you're doing it.
Yeah, you know, he's taken to the lead, and I seem to be able to sort of get him to come around to me till I start talking. You know, I'm pretty happy with him. You know, rather than trying to jerk him around and stuff. You know, they obviously weigh a lot more than what I do. You know, I'm happy just to work, and so they can freely. You know, I've worked both the front and the back end, so I've got control. I can freely have him sort of walking around. Like people call it joining up and stuff, but it's just not, you know, that horse just not looking for another option, you know, like you sort of try not to give him other options, and he's happy doing that because it's sort of what you show. So now I'm trying to sort of get a bit around into his back end, and I'm happy however he moves. I will try and start working him off that rein, but I'm happy just to have that lead rope sit there and get used to it. You know, I can still stop him. I can probably, he'll probably follow me in, and there we go. You get the opportunity. And yeah, I don't mind him following behind, because I'll end up, I don't mind getting behind him, driving them with two reins. Get them used to you being behind them. When you get on their back, you're obviously behind their ears, so you've got to get, I like to get them used to on the ground, me crossing over the back end, but obviously at first you want them not to have their back end to you, because, yeah, they're hard to put a holder on the back end of a horse. So.
You might be able to demonstrate that later. Thank you, Sam. Very cool. Nathan, why the tarp? You don't need a tarp to ride a horse. What are we doing?
Just working on, I suppose, desensitising it a bit. I quite like it because you get a lot of competitions, camp drafts, challenges, and there's always flags, bags, prams and that a lot of horses don't always see. Also, once I sort of up on them and that, it really helps to sort of quieten them down with the noise. I get it eventually. Hopefully you'll see it all over him, and I pretty well go head to tail and even bring it up over his head just to sort of build that bit of trust, and yeah, more so trying to make it as quiet as possible for the clients. Because if I can get them quiet with this, and hopefully further down the track they won't have quite a big blow up, but like I have seen when a plastic bag goes trundling across the flat at a horse. So, and there, can be some of the brokers' horses, but yeah, little plastic bag can undo it pretty quick. So that's, I just like it. It just gets them real quiet, and it's where hopefully you can just put it all over them, and just get them used to as much as possible, expose them to as many things.
So I guess I just want to ask quickly too, Nathan, like you're a professional horse breaker, you do this for a living, you could have anywhere from 5 to 25 horses at a time. Is this something you do? You spend this long on them? Like, what's your program? You know, do you streamline it to a degree so you're happy with it, but you're still getting the job done? Like, how do you go about managing, you know, being a professional breaker, getting the job done quality, and still getting the time with each horse?
Yeah, well, I try and stick to, I only take 5 horses a month. For the pure fact I'd rather do a good job on them all and not be pushed for time. My program's pretty well, I do have a bit of a set deal, but it changes depending on the horse. Depends what they show and bring out. Some I might spend more doing the tarp, others not so much because I might show it to them and they just look at it and don't care. A lot of those ones, the people have already handled them a fair bit before they've come to me, so which is awesome because it makes my part a lot easier and sort of I can advance them a lot more for them. So yeah.
Yeah, really good, mate. I mean, I was seeing Tamara up in the stool, which is basically a lead pony of sorts. She's up above the eye level of the horse, and there's probably a lot of people thought that all training the world there till that horse looked up here at his eye and went, wow, what's there? So, and we got a couple of different methods here, and there's probably every man and his brother at home, Leah, going, I could do this faster. There's probably a lot of people doing that, but the average owner of a horse getting broken in 2023 is not Ray Herman. It's not Ben Hall, it's not Billy Etbow. So slow down. Slow down. I think they're all doing a tremendous job. A rein or a rug or something could be caught behind a tail. We see from Sam down the end here. We see Nathan in the middle. It's not a race. We're from a culture. I know Graham Amos told me that it was 2 rides in the yard and 1 ride outside and you got paid. That was the station rule. Like, it was a race. And that's great, 1962 Northern Territory. That's amazing. We're talking 2023 Darling Downs. We got some valuable horses here. If I owned them, I don't want to see any one of them in a collar rope right now or bouncing off a panel. So I'm pretty happy with what I'm seeing in 3 yards.
Yeah, I agree. When we're starting a lot of horses with Kenny May, Scotty used to say, Leah, you're not breaking these horses in for you. You're not breaking them in for Leah Reid. You're breaking them in for someone else. And it's all good and well, Scotty, if you can get on them horses and ride that out of them, but these horses got to get turned over to someone else. And I think we're seeing 3 different ways here, all different ways, how to get a feel and a connection to these horses with minimal scars, isn't it?
Mate, it's changed so much. I don't know if I'm an old young guy or a young old guy, but when I worked for my grandpa, and I can speak for various old fellas, every horse in the breaking yard was red raw in the gob. Because the only place you took any form of softness out was on his gob. He was in the long reins and he got his head tied round, and there's a whole body there you can take the softness out on. So no, mate, we're learning more than anyone here tonight, so it's all good. Poking along, halfway through the first round. Do I have a Ronnie Wall story? Okay, so the only Ronnie Wall story I have is the same week Ronnie passed away was the same week Peter Poole passed away. And I don't know if anyone out there knows who Peter Poole is. Mooney out there know who Peter Poole was. And there's people at Lyon who know who Peter Poole was. He was the rodeo historian, encyclopedia on rodeo. If you wanted to know the name of Stuart McPhee's hazing horse at Taroom in 1964, Peter Poole could tell you. And those 3 blokes passed away in the same week, and a part of Australia wasn't lost. I mean, and I wasn't that close to Ronnie. We were mates, don't worry, but the amount of times you thought, I wish I could call Ronnie. They're not there. Once they're gone, they're gone. And that was the reason I joined the podcast from the Saddle. That was the reason I interviewed all them old timers. And the pressure's under me now to start my own podcast. I haven't done it yet. It's time and money you don't have. But once them old timers are gone, they're gone, and an encyclopedia is lost.
doing the Ronnie story.
Yeah.
While we're looking at all these great Colt starters as well, Ronnie was an inspiration to me. I spent endless nights at the bar. He was drinking gold and listening to his yarns. And one that really sticks out about Colt starting was, I'm not sure what year it was, but Ken May and Ronnie Wall got invited over to the Horsemen's Reunion, which was in Paso Robles, California, in America. 20 of the best from all over the world went there. They had 2 colts to start over 6 days, and they sold them on the 6th day. So you can imagine, Ronnie, Kenny, myself, we're all in the airport. We're going over. We get over there, and we're in the likes of Pat Pirelli, Luke Newbert, Clinton, Chris Cox, Martin Black, Ty Van Norman, just the best colt starters in the world. And the first day, similar thing. There was 3 round pens set up, and Ronnie had his own pen, and I think the Newbert boys were on. They're doing their colt starter. Now, those Newbert boys, they're all business. Scotty, I think they're a little bit like you. They had 3 of them in the yard, and within about 15 minutes, those horses were saddled. They were out the back, they lapped around, and they got on them.
Their sister Kate too.
Yeah, they're a hell of a family. Righty, I know it was cool. That was 15 minutes. Now, Ronnie's pen. Now, this is called the simple approach, right? I was there. I literally seen this. This is not even bullshitting. And Americans loved him too. You know, Ronnie's old hat, he missing a few teeth. You know, like they were getting all over this man. But what they couldn't figure out was Ronnie stepped in this yard. He had a nice grey gelding. He stepped in this yard. He lunged him left. He lunged him right. He put his saddle in the middle, and he went out for a smoke. That's it. That was his whole first session. And I was a little bit new to the old colt starting game too, and I'm thinking, fuck Ronnie, these boys are riding these horses like, you lunged yours twice and you've had 2 smokes. You know, like, hurry up, mate, like, come on, ticking. By the sixth day, there was absolutely no difference between Ronnie's horses and the Newbert's horses. Okay, so that was an unreal thing for myself to see, was that the Newberts had amazing timing and could get on a horse. But not everybody can do that. Not everyone's, you know, Luke and Brian and that. They can't get on. Ronnie and Kenny's approach was that slower, a bit steadier, but at the end they all got to the same spot. And I think that's what we see with these colt startings. There is no rules. There is no rights and there is no wrongs. You know, by the 3rd day, what you think the slowest horse today will be may not be. And another yarn, or the American trip, we're over there. Now, you know, they don't crack whips much over there. I remember we're in the motel room, right? And a few American boys are like, hey Ronnie, can you teach us how to crack a whip? So we're all out there cracking these whips. Next minute, we got reported for gunshots. Have you ever seen Ronnie Wall run? Ronnie runs. So, no, look, he has been an absolute, I'm so glad that we can keep this, because he loved this colt starting, you know, and his ways, you didn't know what he was doing half the time, but he just, the feel for a horse, you know, the compassion that man had for a horse was just, sticks in my brain forever anyway. And he will too.
Very well said, Leah. Thank you very much for that piece of info on Ronald. So while we've been listening to Leah, Tamara's had a 7.5 minute break. So both Tamara and Sam, they've had half their allotted time for breaks. We've got just under 40 minutes left, basically. About 39 minutes left. So about 2/3 of the way through the first night. Like the judges just said there, each pen's got something different going on in it tonight. So sit back and enjoy these guys doing it their own way, their different way. Make sure you grab a beer, go and get a feed, sit down and watch them finish off for the last 40 minutes.
Scotty, I seen you, gosh, many moons ago.
Before the war.
Before the war. Do a Colt starting at Agro at Emerald. And now it's very, very impressive. Did you have to train to do this? Or how did you prepare yourself mentally? Because it's a lot different than at home. How did you have to train or prepare mentally to come in and do this in front of an audience?
Do you really want to know?
Probably not, but we'll go with it.
Okay. So I grew up third generation professional horse breaker. All we knew was long reins, and we got on them on day 4. So this was nothing like what I've done. And nothing like what I've done. We got on day 4. I made a lot of mistakes in my professional rodeo career, and when I come home, I said, I'm not going to do that again. I need to identify who I need to put myself around, and I picked 2 men. One was Ian Francis, and the other was Gary McPhee. So Gary McPhee lived in Benalla, Victoria, 1,400 k's from my place. Now I have a photo of me breaking into his place, him sitting on a bucket, and Max McTaggart sitting on the other bucket. And no one paid my fuel money to go there. I did. No one paid me to break in when I got there. I did. This is what the younger generation don't get, Leah. Okay, I went there and I got a lot out of it. Now, Gary taught me how to lunge a horse. I never knew how to lunge a horse. Okay, so I was impressed with Nathan in front of me, and probably because it's visual, he's right in front of me. Nathan, can you just lunge your horse one more time? Just one more time, lunge him around. And I want you guys to look at one thing. This horse's inside hind foot lands in the outside front foot's track. That's all I want you to look at. Okay? Now there's a point on the horse between his wither and his croup. That's called the medial dorsal line. And there's a lot of cattlemen here tonight. There's a lot of people watching on the internet tonight. None of you have ever seen a cow do a sliding stop. You know why you haven't seen a cow do a sliding stop? Because you don't have a sacroiliac joint. You can't curl. Okay, that's the one thing between a cow skeleton and a horse skeleton. They don't have the sacroiliac joint. They can't curl. Okay, a horse can't curl till you get him soft between the wither and the croup. And that's why the Kenny Mays, the Leary, the John Templetons, the whatever, their side pass is 30 times better than the ringer from the top end. They got that horse soft to the body. Now, no one said anything about that to me. All I knew a horse was hard in the mouth. Can you mouth my horse, Scott? My horse needs re-mouthing. All I knew that if I got the wonder bit or got him sore in the mouth, that he would react a little quicker. But no one said anything about a horse getting broke to the body. So when I think about a horse that's stiff, I think wither to croup, medial dorsal line. So I don't know if that makes sense to anyone. I learnt that in America out of a dressage book, and I went home and did a lot less pulling and jerking. Now, does anyone out there have a score between the Panthers and Eels while we go? Panthers, Eels. Anyone got a score? Has it started yet? Panthers, Eels. Broncos. Who's winning? Starts at 8. Okay. Nathan Cleary got sent off the other day. Who was the last Panther to get sent off before Nathan Cleary? I'll ask the audience. My wife's brother, but we won't talk about that online. Okay? Travis Burns, my brother-in-law, was the last Panther to be sent off before Nathan Cleary. So Nathan's having a break. And, mate, why now? What, did you see something? Did something change? I mean, see this horse, 2 ears, leaking, looking at Nathan, okay? You can't buy that. You can't steal that. You can't fake that. This horse is not rattled, head through the panels, pointing his bum at him. If I'm Jay Hall right now, I'm going, yeah, I'd give all these blokes a job. What do you see, Nathan?
Yeah, just from trying to just get my body weight and get on him. I don't mind just getting on him bareback if I can. Some I will choose not to. I think he was sort of borderline, even though when I did try to get on, he tried to give me a bit of a nibble on the leg. Ignore it, but yeah, if it got any worse, you'd sort of have to discipline it. But yeah, basically got on. He just stood there, sort of pretty relaxed and whatnot, and didn't freak out and anything. And it's just a good time to quit them so they can really think about that. So then hopefully when you do add the saddle and whatnot and you get on, it's not always a big fright that it's the first time up. At home, I normally do have a dally horse that I'll work with them and be above them, but it's a little far for me to bring one down here. So I just adapt, and yeah, just the way he just, from the start of the session to now, and just how he just stood there and took it in. Yeah, he's a lot more relaxed and willing to do things. So it was just a good time to stop after getting on him. First time he's ever had someone up and on him. So yeah, took the opportunity to give him a bit of a break. Yeah.
So Ricky, I'd like to ask Tamara, what was the objective with the stool? So I'd like to ask Tamara down the end, so the stool's part of your regular deal. Is there a goal? Like, obviously you're above his eye level. I love the bend. You're mouthing, you might know that. So is there a target here? When's too much? When's not enough?
Yeah, look, it really depends on the horse. Same deal. I like to get on him bareback first. I can feel a lot more when I'm bareback. I can see, are they a bit twitchy here? Do I need to work on rubbing them down with my legs before I start asking them to move off that leg? It's not all the horses that I'll do bareback. Some of them, they are just a bit too worried about this deal of a bear jumping on their back, which is pretty much what we're doing. It is an aggressive manoeuvre. So getting them relaxed about it as much as I can. As far as getting weight on his back, letting him feel that, doing bareback work, you've got to be really careful. I'm pretty bony myself, that I'm not getting my bones in the wrong spot, that I'm going to pinch him and offend him. I'm working on his bend, making sure that he's always looking at me each time that I'm doing it. I don't want him looking the other way and just trying to sneak it on him. I stopped and did a little bit of work just getting him following the feel, so having a rope around the opposite side and following that feel around, because he'll follow me around the round pen, like he's pretty sweet like that, but getting him used to, what happens when there is pressure coming from behind and that pressure on your head. Where should you go? Like, should you leap forward? No, just follow that nose feel and get soft off of that halter, which will translate hopefully when we start putting a bridle on and doing a bit of long reining with him later.
So Sam, you've got 1 minute left, mate, and that is the last of your breaks for the night. I just love this horses with him. He's got 2 ears up going, come back to me, Sam, I kind of like you. So 1 minute left, mate, before you got to jump in the arena. And same deal here, Lee. I mean, A, they're good horses, but B, that doesn't tell lies. I don't care who you are.
No, like he's really showing, like this horse is not sweating, he's not panning, he's in the middle of a pen and he's pretty relaxed. That's got to turn into more of a passive frame of mind, hasn't it? He hasn't overworked him to get him to stand there with his head below his withers. So it's been really good to see that and how everyone's getting to that point.
There's a really good horseman about our age there called Jayton Lord, American. He's come out here doing a couple of clinics. There's people in the grandstand watching. I know who Jayton Lord is, but cut a very long story short, he is Ray Hunt's grandson. So Ray Hunt, whether you love him, hate him, worship him, he was the first. He was the godfather of natural horsemanship. He sold a different way of thinking. That's what he did. He sold a different way of thinking from the rope and choke and buck 'em out. Okay. So I'm riding with Jayton one day and I said, mate, your grandpa's Ray Hunt. That is amazing. Like, I mean, what's the best thing he ever taught you? He goes, I cannot put that into words. There's no way I can put into words what's the best thing Pop ever taught me. 2 days later, he went to me, Scott, I thought about that. And I said, what is it? He said, learning state of mind. He said, your horse must be in a learning state of mind. Now, I see you competing this weekend, Leah. I've only got 2 horses, but I know their learning state of mind is completely different. There's one horse in there I could canter from his stable to the arena, and he'd be at his peak. There's one I better ride for 20 minutes. They all vary. And to the ma and pa that have got the kids' pony that they keep on the 5 acres outside of town, you need a gem. Because if you visit him 3 times a week, he's not going to be in a learning state of mind. He's going to have some negative energy. He's probably going to buck you off. He's not a motorbike. So achieving learning state of mind. So there's people out here that go, geez, I had a terrible ride on Thursday, but on Wednesday was a great ride. It was the same horse. But what state of mind did you have him in? So that really changed the way I looked at things. Like, to achieve learning state of mind on a hot-blooded horse, I would recommend leading him off the back of the ute for 3 days in a row and riding him on the 4th to the garden variety horse owner. Other horse, he might need 2 dippers' votes to pep him up. I don't know him. But achieving learning state of mind, not pouring, not jumping sideways, no negative energy, well, that's an art in itself. You look at Sam down the end here, he's just put it's this horse's second girth, because he has had a surf signal, but he's also got his first set of knee hobbles on. Like, all I knew about knee hobbles, Leah, was you buckled them up tight and you walked away. I just paid a lot of money for a metallic cat filly the other day, and I would hate to think that someone just buckled them up tight and walked away. I would like to think they showed her limits. This is what we're after, and later on buckle up. So it might be a tick slower than a lot of old boys in the grandstand, but again, there's no race for it. A champion 2-year-old's never won a Melbourne Cup yet. So, Sam, you got a little theory here, mate? You got a process, like you were happy to pull it off, the horse didn't flip out? You're not on, Sam?
Hello. I might be on a different channel. Oh, no.
You're on there, mate.
Yeah, like I had a rope on his front legs there before. I was moving around the front leg game to, pick up that front leg and that. So, yeah, well, these are just the same concept as knee hobbles, except you can release them, and he's already had the pressure. He's had stuff on his feet. He's really willing, this horse. He doesn't really fight you for much, but I guess, like, you've got a really good, quiet, good going horses like this, you've got to not be complacent too. But yeah, I'd put these on. I like to, I've spent a heap of time here mucking around getting him to move his feet and stuff, which is great. So I want him to move, and I want him to move away from me, move towards me. But when I want to be getting on him and stuff like that, I also want him standing still. So I like using this because I can put it on him. I can put a bit of pressure when he moves. He can feel it. He can respond to it. And if he's to get a fright or anything before he does anything wrong, you know, you can just release it. So, you know, and it'll be hopefully no big deal. That's the whole process, you know. Yeah, trying not to make anything too big a deal for him.
Okay, we've got 25 minutes left, Lee. The best compliment I've been given in my life. When I was a young fella home from America, broke, young kids. Big thoroughbred started offering me a fair gig, but I was busy, but I took it anyhow. I had 12 in work at my place, and I used to drive an hour and a half each way to do their 6. So it was a long day. We're to the middle of winter now, so I was riding 18, doing 3 hours on the road, winter. And this farrier said, Scott, I haven't seen you sweat yet. One of my main mentors in horsemanship was a man called Tal Nolan. He said, this horse breaking's a collar and tie job. He used to tell me, she's a collar and tie job. So I hate to disappoint anyone if they thought they're coming here to watch a rodeo. Because horses this well bred, this well handled, yeah, they're allowed to hump up. But we shouldn't be bouncing off panels. The year's 2023. You know, I mean, the halls are like high-end competitors. I do these field days, Leah, and I just meet so many people that are great people and just taking some poor choices, you know. I mean, put it this way. If you met Ian Francis tomorrow and go, what are you training at the moment, Ian? Say, well, it's actually 8-year-old, unbranded, unhandled, stallion, and 3 blokes have had a go at him. No. The horse he's got could probably break in itself, you know, like. And we've all got different goals, mate. Like, not everyone's trying to win a Campcraft tomorrow. Some people want to ride down the lane, and that's magic too. But I don't think a good shepherd shops at the pound. And I don't mean that as a derogatory thing, but I love horses that are on my page. And we're seeing 3 pretty good ones here now.
So Tamara's just taken the last of her breaks and then she'll be done. So basically once Tamara gets back in, all the guys have had their allotted time breaks. But just under 25 minutes left to go now. Just really quickly thank a few sponsors. Obviously, Stock Life for coming on board this year to bring this event to you live. We've got JW Jackson and Sons who are carting all the cattle this weekend. The boys have been out there today mustering and sorting cattle for the next couple of days. They were also in here the other day with their ploughs doing the arenas up for us. So big thank you to John and Kim Jackson. Thank you to all the cattle donors. So we got Philip and Tanya Kerr. We got Luke and Bryony Giblin, the Wills family, the Spinks family out of Galar. So everybody's quite aware that it's getting a bit dry and to find 1,300 cattle for one weekend. No small feat, so we thank the cattle donors because without them we wouldn't have this event. So round of applause for the cattle donors, please. Just also like to, I'll keep touching on it over the next couple of nights, but just thank the committee. We're not a very big committee. There's only about 6 or 7 people on the committee. We're running 3 events, the challenge, the cult starting and the camp draft. The president doesn't really sit on horses, so what drives him I'm not quite sure. But just a big thank you. There's been the last 12 months down to the last 3 weeks, flat out work from Will Lamble and his wife Millie, who's the secretary. They're newlyweds and they got their first new little fella on the ground. So to do all that and then to get all this off and running and be here all weekend to support the event, it's a big thank you. So Round of applause for the committee and for Will and Millie Lamble, please. We've got heaps of other sponsors. I will keep touching on them guys over the next couple of nights, but we are nearing to the end of the first night, so just the bar will head back over to the pavilion there, and there's still dinner getting made, so feel free to head back over and have a few cold ones and something to eat. And I'll update you here shortly with what we're going to get underway with first thing in the morning and what time, etc. So tomorrow you're back in, ready to finish off the last 18 or 19 minutes. You want to tell us where you're up to and what your thoughts are on how you've gone so far tonight with this horse?
Yeah, look, I'm happy I got a bit of weight on him. Didn't quite get up there, but at least he's accepting a bit of weight laying over him. He's a bit of a dude, you'll see here, even when I exit the round pen, he's sort of bumping on that halter, so making sure that when I am doing stuff with him, I'm trying to be really clear and direct without taking that little bit of character out of him. There's nothing that he's done tonight that I'm like particularly worried about. He's a little more sensitive, but I just got to be a little more aware of that. In these last 15 minutes, I just want to get him back to where I had at the start, where I had a rope around his belly, sort of putting a bit of pressure on there, see how he copes with that again, and whether or not I get a lunge roller on is entirely up to him and where we get to. So making sure I don't flood him tonight, because we've got tomorrow night and the third night, and then the rest of his life with whoever takes him home.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. Hey, a pretty important message there, Scotty, about not rushing and the next person that's got to take these horses home. It's a good point not to rush, and somebody's got to end up with this horse for the next 25 years. Would you agree?
Mate, I agree entirely. They're not going home to anyone. They're going home to some very, very astute horsemen, Ben and Jay Hall. And I think as Australians, we watch the Americans and go, we better do what they're doing. Well, there's a road to the horse competition in America that I may or may not love everything they do, but it appeals to an audience. But I can tell you now, my mentors, Max McTaggart, Gary McPhee, if I was standing on his back starting a leaf blower and twirling a balloon, they would say, what are you doing? Like, this does not apply to anything this horse ever needs to do. So one of the easiest things you can ever do out there, guys, if you're watching at home, is brown one out. That takes very little to no ability to brown one out, be standing on his back now, cracking a whip. That doesn't interest me nor Leah. Whereas in a very small start, I mean a very small start, we're about 3 hours here. I mean, if you can jog him around here and follow a field, that's magic, because he wouldn't be doing that at my place, Leah. After 3 hours, he's lucky to have had a saddle, if that. So, I mean, it'd be nice to put on this great big production and all that, but that's not real. That is not real, and we're in Western New South Wales here. There's real people out here, Leah. We're not at the Gold Coast Spectacular. We're not on some romantic journey. So all three people here right now will get a job at my place tomorrow. So I bet Ben and Jay aren't looking through Crim's fingers right now going, oh my God, that's the horse I put all my passion and time into breeding. So, but you know what? You can have your theory. You can go, okay, I've got this guy in front and that lady second and that guy third or whatever. And when they run in tomorrow, we're going to be completely about face. So I have no opinion right now, Ricky. It's all good. It's all kosher. I don't know about you, Leah, but I do not have a first, second, and third even remotely in my radar at the minute.
No, not at all. Everyone's showing a great start. Everyone's showing a different start, and I think that's why we're here. Kenny used to, or my deal is find a mentor that you like and stick with it, because every method's different and you've got to go through the whole lot of it. Every method is different. It's not necessarily wrong or right. I think it's all to an individual, and that's what we're getting to see here tonight. I'm just really impressed with everyone. I don't care what horse you train, and a horse has got to understand what we're talking about too, don't they? We've got to understand what they're talking about. And everyone's taken a beautiful lot of time here to relate to the horse and get them to understand what is asked of them.
I got a good mate in America the other day. He said, "Oh, Scott," he said, "I did a favour for a mate and took a colt for 6 months. Never again." No, it's got to be 12. It's got to be 12. None of this 6 month stuff. So we in Australia are just the shortcutters of the world. And guess what? I'm not 22 anymore. You're not 22. And we're meant to be the fitter ones. So they're in the hair off these colts, and I'm slow as faster most of the time. I mean, Ian used to say to me, "You got to slow down to hurry up, Scott. Like, seriously, slow down to hurry up." And there could be someone fanging on around the arena tonight, and that might get a few hoo-ahs from the bar, but it's not going to get a hoo-ah from me or you or the horse or the people that own the horse. Just remind them they can bid on these horses. Remind them they can bid on them. Okay, so they're telling me, if you liking what you see here, guys, these horses are all for auction on the final night. I believe the link is stock live, but we'll keep you up to date on that. I know 4 or 5 years ago here, on a year that got rained out, I bought Tamara's horse. Hugh Miles supplied the horses that weekend, and I seen a Razor Garter gelding that I loved, and I bought him. I mean, it wasn't a case of, an online auction where you see a horse standing in a stall. I got to see a lot. I got to see a whole lot about this horse, and I bought him and made an informed choice. So if you guys are liking what you see out here, don't forget, they are all for sale. So if we've got people online watching us, I don't know how many people are online watching. Hope there's a bunch. But all these horses are for sale at the end of it. So we're 12 minutes left, competitors. I really hope the people sitting out there have enjoyed their evening. Like, aren't rock concerts. There's no cheerleader squad at my round yard, Leah. It's me, myself, and Dust. That's how it sort of belongs. So I hope someone out there is that are sitting in their truck going, you know what, I appreciate these guys. Here we go. The crowd comes alive. I reckon I can handle that one, Leah. I reckon I can still handle him. Not much more, but I reckon I can still handle him. So he's a long way from an outlaw. Okay, so before we're done tomorrow, you've got about 10 minutes left. You have a goal, surely. You're thinking, okay, 10 minutes, what do I want to get done before I get whistled off?
Yeah, well, gotten him used to a little bit of weight, gotten him used to a rope around behind him. Next step I need to get him used to is girth, all that pressure around his girth. I started off with the rope, made sure he was, not too bad about it. There was a few times in the beginning where he was jumping forward. I'm not about just strapping something to it and letting it bucket out. If I can get away where he doesn't have to have that reaction, then that's a good day in the office for me. I'm not saying that, horses won't buck, but if they don't feel the need to, then hopefully I've prepared them the right way. As I get this snugged up, I'm just stepping him out a little bit. So stepping into his hindquarters, getting him to step that hind end up and underneath itself. What that does is it compresses his rib cage, compresses the diaphragm, basically makes him take a breath out. So that first step is so important. If I let him just leap out of it, or invite him to leap out of it, like you'll see his little stuff on this side, good boy. Or if I get a nice slow step, he's not quite turned loose on this side, you'll see he's stepping to or stepping behind. He's a little sticky to get going. There. Good boy. Good boy.
Love it, Lee. Lee, have you ever tried to hold your breath and bend to the side? Can you give one for the crowd there? Hold your breath, big breath in.
Me?
And bend to the side. Pretty hard to do, isn't it? There you go, righto. We just had a bit of physics work there, so I love it. And Tamara's kept that horse in close the whole time. I don't know if the people at home will watch it, but he hasn't been free willy. There's been a lot of bend. Now, that may pay dividends when the whips are cracking. So what about you in the middle, Nathan? Probably under 10 minutes left. Is there something you want to address before you get done?
I just like to probably just run over, the stuff we have done through this.
I mean, you separate your ends. You're big on separating your ends, front end, back end. That's real Ronnie Wall, Anthony Jessup to me. Here we go.
Yeah, well, I suppose I did hang around him a fair bit, annoyed him. But I just, from what, him talking about that, like, if you don't have control of their feet down here, there's no point getting on their back, because it's just probably going to end up in a wreck for you and the horse. So a lot of my stuff, I just try and get a lot of control over the front and the back end, just controlling their feet, even the speed of their feet. Like, I like them if they're just walking around like this, but if I do bump them up, go a bit faster, I just like to, I'll try and do it here. So I get him trotting, but then I try and just slow my body down to where he starts to walk like that. I like that because I'll try and transfer that to when I'm on his back.
Well, that was a candid fast circle to slow transition that we're going to try and do in the morning, mate. So that was really cool. And I'm going to put this back on Leah because Leah worked for Kenny May, which was very forward-thinking guy, very American. Now, I had zero idea on how to control a horse's feet other than to hobble them. All I knew was spider hobbles. And in 2002, when I moved to Texas and moved in with Tom McTaggart, he said, there's a colt down here, Scott. You're meant to be a horse break. Can you saddle him up for me first ride? I said, where's your collar rope? And she won't need one. I said, you mean to tell me that you can get a saddle on a horse without tying his hind leg up? He said, yep. I said, well, I've never seen that. And I truly had never seen it. All I knew was restraint. I didn't know anything about getting one dialed in and wanting him to let you own his feet. How many minutes there, Ricky? 7 minutes left, folks. So I have no idea how they're going to come in tomorrow other than they're all going to be good. And we've seen 3 different ways. Tenya's definitely had a tighter knit with the horse. That's the biggest circle I've seen him do. Nathan's probably separated the ends more. And Sam down the ends probably used the long lines more. So there is 3 differences, and again, I've got the easiest judge in the seat in the house tonight, hardest one on Saturday. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's just been a great demonstration of 3 different styles, all achieving about the same tonight, though, isn't it? Everyone's had a girth or a saddle on. They're all moving forward and around. They all look respectful. None of them are worried. So it's been really good to watch. And you said that Ken was a master of getting a horse's feet. And what really stuck with me is his saying was, it's got softness is the horse's willing idea to allow you to control his feet and legs to the ground. And I think that applies not only on the ground, I think that applies while we're riding them. A horse will be soft if you can control his feet and legs to the ground and his head will be in the position it needs to be in.
Wow. I might need a coach lesson out the back there in the morning. I can tell you now, when I was apprentice horse breaker, my first job of the morning is I had a tub of fat, and it was transmission fluid mixed with lime sulphur powder, and I went round and treated the hobble chafe, because every one of them was red raw. And that's not having a knock at my mentors. We're talking about the time frames and the horses that were sent at the time. We thought we were doing the best job known to man. You know, run him up in the bucking shed and put a sideline in. I thought there was no better method. I'm not having a crack at how I was raised. But there are better ways. And I'm glad that we're here learning as a group here tonight. And yeah, the old transmission fluid and sulphur powder, there's no cheaper brew, I can tell you. Unless you got straight sump oil. That was cheaper again. Well, look at Nathan here on the hind leg, and again, I've got another unique story, Leah, in that my dad is a farrier. My mum's side of the family are horse breakers. So we're talking two different sides of the family now. I'd like $1 for every time that my dad reminded me that your uncle and grandpa need to break in a horse from the knees down. Now, farriers made my business. When I was a pup off the boat from America, and I could shoe one without a halter on him, that reflected dividends. Like, I was in a thoroughbred polo world where a lot of children were getting done with a needle. And the farriers I was their best friend, like, because they knew that if I broke him in, you could get him shod. And I mean, farrier now, I mean, I'm steering my boy into farrieing. I mean, it's north of $130, and you can't get him to turn up. I mean, and they're not going to turn up for your horse to puke. So he better be good to shoot. You know, or they ain't coming. Simple as that. I had a bloke from Western Queensland the other day turn up with a horse feet this long. I said, geez, mate, look at the split in the horse's foot. And he said, yeah, mate, just stretch him out and call the farrier. I said, you're in the wrong postcode, mate. It ain't happening in Warwick. You know, they're not coming to shoot good horses. So a lot of horse owners need to check a calendar. You know, because it ain't 1983, and we ain't at Yellowstone. So 3 minutes, guys. Proper nice finish down there near from Sam. And in the middle here, first guy to get the hind feet really in the middle, isn't it? Not that he's winning, we're just saying, first guy to get to the hind feet. Leah, do you remember when getting hind shoes on a breaker was a sport? Because you had to ride him outside and you needed a set of boots on to go down the highway. That was a sport. We used to have a horseshoeing crush. I bet a lot of people out there would remember a horseshoeing crush. Yeah, that's where they shot, in a crush. Right, Ricky, what have we got tomorrow, mate? What's happening?
Yeah, thanks, Scotty. So we've got 2 minutes left, guys. So just sort of finish up whatever you're doing, and we'll leave it there for the night. But we're going to kick off in the morning with the Open Classic Derby challenges, 7 o'clock. The Classic Challenge age check will be at 7:45. So bring your horse and everything you need to get your age check for your Classic horse. The Derby age check will be at 1 o'clock, 1:30 in the afternoon. So that's for your Derby horses. So 7 o'clock start on the Open Challenge, Classic Challenge Derby. Horse check for the Classic at 7:45. The Maiden will start at 10 o'clock. And if you've bought papers for your horses for your challenge and you haven't sent them through, please come and sort that out before the event starts so we can get all that up to date, please. So I think we're just about there. I waffled on for 2 minutes, but yeah, that's about time there, guys. So just leave the halters on because we're going to walk these horses back to their stalls. But just a bit of a round of applause for the 3 trainers here tonight, ladies and gentlemen, please. And a big thank you again to Ben and Jay. I actually just received a message from Jodie Wall why this has been happening. She's absolutely loving the live stream and been able to watch the cult starting and sharing Ronnie's story. So thanks for watching, Jodie. Thanks for Stock Live. We'll put these horses to bed for the night and we'll come back and we'll do it all again tomorrow. Thank you very much.